Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to part 4 season 3 of What If Deku Was a Dragon Slayer. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. Mavis Vermilion stood before the group of heroes and UA students, many of whom had just lost their powers to the insatiable Acknowledger. She explained how her and the other wizards all came from a parallel world called Earthland, how this world had been full of magic. She then told the story of how this world gave birth to the creature that ultimately destroyed it. Mavis then moved into more current events. A small group of wizards from the Alliance against Acknowledger managed to survive the destruction of Earthland. We had no idea how it happened, but it did. We figured that if we survived, then so did Acknowledger. So we survivors decided to band together and prepare to combat the beast. We would succeed where we had failed. The monster would not destroy another world. Lucy Hartfilia stepped forward to take the story from there. The wizards decided to split into two factions. The first would try to find where Acknowledger was hiding in this new world. The second group would prepare for the battle to come. That second part was done by recruiting new wizards we found, which were few, and by training to get stronger ourselves. Mavis then took over again. That is when the prep team decided to move out into the new world we found ourselves in. It was important that we understood the ground we would be fighting on. That is when we discovered a world on edge. We had arrived during the Dark Age at the beginning of the superhuman society. Because of our powers and abilities, we were hunted and accused of being in league with a villain called All for One. Many of our numbers were imprisoned during this time, but we eventually got the authorities to trust that we had nothing to do with this Dark Lord. That was about the time that Pro Heroes came about. We also created this place using dimension magic. We call it Fairy Space. We designed it after our old guild hall. We made it in case we needed a place to fall back to in the coming battle. Uraraka stepped forward with a burning question. But that was so long ago. How are you all still here? Wouldn't you all have died of old age by now? Mavis thought this was a smart question. You see, my dear, it was only as time moved forward that we discovered that all of the survivors were ageless. Is that normal for wizards? Very few had that ability. We all figured it was a complication from the event that destroyed our home and sent us here. The pink-cheeked girl nodded in understanding, even though her face still looked confused. It was the consensus feeling in the room. All of the UA students, except Midoriya, Wendy, and Kaminari, all wore confused looks on their faces. Some of them were surprised, while others were consumed with worry. None of them were able to vocalize what they were feeling. Everyone remained silent for a long period. The first one to break the silence was Mina Ashido. The pink girl remarked, "What are we going to do? If this monster does have the ability to take quirks, how are we going to fight him?" Mavis was surprised by this response. The short woman spoke in a curious tone. "I take it, from the way you formed those questions, you plan on fighting then?" Momoye Urazu spoke up then. "Of course. We did not put all of that hard work in at you to sit on the sidelines. If there is a way for us to help, please tell us. Do you all feel this way?" Every student stood from their seats. All of the confusion had disappeared from their faces. Each and every member, whether they were 1A or 1B, all responded with an affirmative yes. They had all come to you to go beyond, plus ultra. Mavis was glad to hear this. She nodded in approval. "Good news for all of you. There's a way for your powers to be restored." Midoriya, Wendy, and Kaminari, stay here. We have special training planned for you three. The rest of 1A and 1B follow me. The tiny woman turned and walked out of the main room. The small wizard led the large group down a staircase into the basement of the guild hall. At the bottom of the stairs stood two men. One was Makarov Drayar and the other was Natsu Dragneel. The two men stood guard at a large set of doors. The students all wondered what could be behind the door. The doors gave off an ancient dungeon vibe. Many of the students thought that the wizards had something unpleasant in mind. Mavis stopped in front of the door and turned to face the students. "Listen up. What you all are about to attempt is incredibly dangerous. I feel you have the right to know what you're in for." The green-eyed woman took a deep breath and spoke in a serious tone. "Behind this door is one of the most powerful treasures of the Fairy Tail Guild, the Fairy Heart. It is a magical totem of nearly limitless magical power. With the proper ritual, it can be used to strengthen a wizard's magical power many times over. Because of this fact, many wizards tried to absorb all of its power and become unstoppable. Fortunately, this never happened. Most of them were either vaporized or driven mad by the process. And you want to put us through that? That sounds horrible. Don't interrupt me when I am speaking." The wizard glared at the students with a stare as cold as ice. The wise woman then continued, "As I said, if a powerful mage was to get near this artifact, it could increase his power. However, if the proper ritual was used, I believe a person without magic could gain access to magical powers. So we would be as powerful as Midoriya, Marvel, and Kaminari. Probably. But the powers you gain from the ritual would be different from your friends. But only if it worked. Asui spoke up at this point. Ma'am, what would happen to us if the ritual failed? In most cases, nothing would happen. But there is the slight chance you could be reduced to ash. Many of the students got worried looks on their faces at the words reduced to ash. Mavis then asked bluntly, I will need your answer now. Those of you who wish to undergo the ritual, step forward. Those who don't can go back upstairs. No. That there is no shame as refusing. Everyone here will understand. All of the students looked back and forth at each other for several minutes. The looks on their faces were a mix of concern, fear, worry, and panic. It took only a moment for that mixture of emotion to resolve into a great mass of determination. All of the students stepped forward. Mavis was moved by the great will to fight she saw in these young people. She knew that these children would be fine, no matter what came next. Okay, let us begin. Mavis waved her hands before the crowd of students. This action caused a symbol to appear on the arms of the students. Fear not, students of UA. The symbol that you have been given is the mark of our wizard guild. The mark of fairy tale. This is the first step in the ritual. Only those who have this mark are allowed to stand before the fairy heart. Now that it is complete, let's restore what Acknowledge has taken. With those words from Mavis, the large doors behind her swung open to reveal a bright white light. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and hackers could exploit you. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy. In addition to providing you with safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services. Are you tired of going through 2, 3, or even 4 streaming services to watch your favorite anime? Well, with NordVPN, you can change your country and be able to binge shows like My Hero Academia, Naruto, and many others on your favorite streaming service with just a press of a button. Check out the link in the description to get 72% off when buying for 2 years divided by $3.29 a month. This deal is for a limited time. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Back in the main room of the guild hall, Midoriya, Wendy, and Kaminari were getting worried about their classmates. Jello and Urza were looking after the youths. The two could see the concern on the children's faces. Urza spoke in a calm manner. You 3 need to relax. Your friends will be fine. Master Mavis may look young, but she is a wise and accomplished wizard. It isn't that, Master. Oh, really? Then what is troubling you 3? It is this monster Acknowledge. If he has destroyed a world already, then how are we going to stop him from destroying our home? Kaminari then added more cold water. Not to mention that this guy now has the ability to steal quirks. How do you stop a guy like that? Honestly, I have no idea. Urza then pointed to the large fairy tale symbol that overlooked the room. That symbol does more than mark the members of our guild. We members wore that mark to show our devotion to the guild and its members. When you wear that symbol, you never fight alone. It was enchanted so that it would never fade as long as you held fairy tale and its members close in your heart. It has always been the way of our guild to stare overwhelming odds in the face and beat them into submission. No matter how many times we are knocked down, we rise again until the enemy is vanquished. Wendy and Midoriya started crying at that beautiful speech. Kaminari tried his best to hide it, but even he teared up. After a few moments of blubbering, Midoriya managed to gain control of his emotions and speak. That is a really moving speech. Master, what can we do to prepare for this battle? Wendy and Kainari both nodded in agreement. I am glad to see that your fighting spirits have not diminished, even in the face of the overwhelming odds we face. Follow me. Urza turned and walked toward a bar in the background. Behind the bar stood a pretty young woman with long white hair. Students, this is Mura Jane Strauss. She is the keeper of the fairy tale mark. She also keeps an eye on fairy space for us, and acts as the main line of communication in the ongoing battle against Acknowledge. The Whiten smiled at the 3. It is so nice to finally meet Midoriya and Kaminari. I have heard so much about you 2. Before we do anything, I want you 3 to be officially inducted into fairy tale. You have more than earned it. What do we have to do? We don't have to get tattooed, do we? I can't stand the sight of needles. Mira smiled at the ridiculousness of Kaminari's comments. Of course not, silly. The cute woman took out a large stamp from behind the bar. All I have to do is stamp your skin with this and you will have the mark of fairy tale. The 3 teens looked at each other with impassive looks. The 3 turned their back on the adult wizards. The teen got into a huddle and spoke in a soft tone. After several minutes, the 3 turned back with huge smiles on their faces. Wendy spoke for the group. If being a part of fairy tale means that we get to learn and be around amazing wizards like you 3, as well as Masters Lucy, Natsu, Laxus, and Makarov, we would be honored to become members. The boys nodded in agreement with their diminutive class rep. The three elder wizards all smiled at this response. Urza smiled, then spoke in her usual impassive tone. I am happy to hear this. The crimson-haired knight turned toward Mira Jane. If you would do the honors. Mira, of course. It would be my pleasure. The curve woman then took the large stamp and applied it to the three teens. After the stamp was removed, the symbol of fairy tale was left on the children's arms. Midoriya's mark was a forest green, Wendy's a noble blue. Finally, Kaminari's mark was a shocking yellow. As the teens admired their new body art, Makarov Dreyar walked into the room. Well, looks like we have even more members joining the guild. It does an old heart good to see such things. Master, how did the ritual go? The teens got a worried look on their face. They remembered that Urza had told them that Master Makarov was with Mavis and the other students. The small man's presence sent up emergency signals in the teens' mind. Wendy was the first one to express these feelings. She spoke in a tone full of concern. Master, are the others okay? They didn't get hurt, did they? Oh, they did hurt young Wendy. This news shocked the teens, but they are all alive. The group breathed out a sigh of relief. The ritual was a punishing ordeal, but all of your friends came through it with flying colors. They have all gained magical abilities similar to their quirks. That is great news. I knew that many of them were feeling bad after having their powers taken. Don't cheer too loudly. My children, even though they are no longer powerless, it will take some time before they can use their new magic to the same proficiency as their quirks. It will be a lot of work for us masters. But where are they? Makarov smiled at the brunette. Have no fear, child. Your friends were worn out after the ritual, so Master Mavis used her power to transport them all to the dorms to get some rest. They will be up and about in a few days. Urza stroked her chin in deep thought. She then spoke in a quizzical tone. How long do you think it will take to make them battle ready? Master, Makarov thought for a moment. Given how motivated this group is, we can probably get them comfortable with their new powers in about 2 months. And to face off against Ignologia, I would say that a further 8 months would be needed. But that may be pushing it. It would be better if we could have a few years. But I doubt that Ignologia would give us that much time. True. If he sticks to his old pattern, he will now commence his attack on the world. Makarov nodded in agreement with the crimson-haired woman. The old man then turned toward Wendy. I have a favor to ask of you, Wendy. What is it, Master? There is someone here I think can benefit from your healing powers. Follow me, you three. The short man led the trio to the back rooms of the guild. They all walked down a long hallway to a room with a sign on the door. The sign read, Occupied, do not enter, in big bold letters. Here we are. Makarov opened the door to the room. Inside the room was a bed. In the bed laid a tall skeletal blonde. The thin man sat up as the group entered. He spoke to Makarov in a weary tone. Makarov, are the children okay? They are fine, All Might. Don't worry about them. You need to focus on yourself for a change. Upon hearing that the weak figure in front of them was All Might, the teen trio's jaws hit the floor at the same time. They all wondered what other surprises were in store for them. The elderly master then explained how All Might was seriously injured. The man was in a fierce battle with his mortal enemy. All for one, many years ago. He received several major injuries. None as bad though as a major injury to his stomach. We used our knowledge of healing magic to help him recover. All seemed well, except that All Might did get a silent decrease in the time he could use his hero form. But altogether he was able to return to his hero duties for the most part. If that is the case, then why does he look like a deflated beach ball? His current state is due to an exchange he had with Ignologia. The beast attacked him in a dark alley one night while he was on patrol. I know you all have been focused on your training, but you must have noticed that All Might has not been around the campus lately. All three teens realized the master was right. The group could not recall seeing All Might much after the USJ. Nezu asked if we could bring him here to recover. That way the public would not be freaked out at hearing their main protector was down. But the injuries Ignologia inflicted were more serious. We were able to stabilize All Might, but our healing abilities were not enough to get him back on his feet. So he has been here ever since. That is all interesting, Master Makarov. But what can I do? I want you to use your cure magic to heal All Might's injuries. Young Wendy. Without pausing, Wendy replied, Of course I will, Master. The girl went to start healing the blonde hero at once. Before the girl could reach the weakening man, she was stopped by Makarov. Hold on a minute, child. You and the others have been through a lot today. I want you to get some rest first. That way your powers will be at their best when you heal All Might. The blonde man coughed weakly. He is right, young Marvel. My condition may look bad, but I have no plan to die. You can start healing me tomorrow. For now, get some rest. Makarov looked at the two boys. That goes for you two also. I and the other wizards have a harsh training regiment lined up for all three of you and your classmates. You won't get stronger sitting on your rumps. With those worrying words, The 3 dragon slayers were taken to the dorms by Urza to rest up for the trials ahead. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description. So feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video. So goodbye and have a divine day.